Well, yeah, this one is for the real ones. We're calling it Zero Gimmicks. With yours truly, you already know who it is. And if you don't know, best you ask somebody, This is Q, doing it 100% real from the heart through the lips to your mind. No preservatives, no added sugar, no artificial sweeteners or flavors. Just real talk about real things. Raw, very unfiltered. Because, well, that's the only way I know how to do things. Let's do it just so. Right? Well, alright then. So the inspiration for this episode is Carnival and therapy, just like I see in the credits now. And it's just me talking, really, because the topic kind of personal. And I wanted to use the opportunity to share some things publicly, especially today. Today's my birthday, so yeah. Well, the day that I release it, if you know what I mean. And I don't even know if I could actually roll this out into a whole series at this point. I don't know if I can make it sustainable, but I kind of just want to put these things out there, so I'm venting more or less. But it could be entertaining, because, well, as an entertaining fella, or at least I could try, Alright, so let me start here. Carnival, the word carnival. If you don't know what it means, Google. And shame on you, you're supposed to know what it means by now. Well, at least if you're actually listening to this. Carnival simply means the farewell to the flesh, right? Farewell to meat. And the operative word there is really farewell, because it's a seasonal change. If you check it out, there's a whole series of changes, a whole series of transitions that we go through. Now, the big thing is that this whole celebration was from the emancipated slaves celebrating their transition into freedom. Now, I wanted to take note, an actual thing happened. They actually became free, and this was a symbolic celebration of it, right? But beyond that, you have like your Sunday into Monday, which is the darkness into light, that is a Juve, right? You have the informal Monday Mass, that is translate into Tuesday Mass, which is formal, right? And the overall picture now, in terms of the action, is the indulgence of Carnival into the abstinence of Lent, right? And that is tied back into why people is give up meat and thing for Lent. So what I find is that we have a focus more on the abandoned part, We're going in tongue in the jaws and thing and freeing up and fets and that kind of scene, which is cool. I ain't no beef for that. But what I'm saying is a physical release is a symbolic thing, right? The symbolism itself will be nothing if it's not represented by an actual change. So you could say, there's your time and it's freeing up and that kind of thing, and it's a release. Cool, but what they really releasing? What we just really release something? Like after the fete, after Juve, after we go on the road, where's the betterment? Or what we just shed, what we just gain? Like how many of us just go into the Lent, abstain for the 40 days and come out with real gains? Tangible things I could say, hey, this is what I get. And that is what impacted me big time this year. Like, I being real with you, I ain't talking down to nobody, There's me I talking about. Carnival has come and Carnival has go, and I just be the same way after it. Like with all my problems, all my bad ways, all my toxic behaviors, everything from before still in play. So I don't see it as a release now. I don't know if somebody else is get, but I don't know. And I'm not condemning Carnival for that. Again, me I talking to. I just saying that I kind of feel like we don't use it properly. And in a space right now, we're having a little problem with the whole, Carnival is therapy thing, especially as you don't use it for therapy in the true sense now. Now, I find it therapeutic, you know what I'm saying? But not therapy. I could take it as, relaxation. Carnival is entertainment. Carnival is enjoyment. I could even go as far as Carnival is temporary stress relief. All that. But therapy, that's it and kind of hard. I don't feel Carnival is therapy. Yeah, I don't feel so. Now, check this, When you're talking therapy, if you start to talk therapy, right, outside the Carnival scene and outside other activities that we easily say is therapy because it's built around having that time and taking it easy and that kind of thing. By show of hands, who does think mad people think when they hear the word therapy? Now watch this. Mad people think is if you just raise your hands just now, because this is a podcast and nobody could see you. I can't see you, nobody else could see you. Why you do that? That's mad people thing. But therapy is definitely not mad people thing. Therapy is a very, very essential thing. As a matter of fact, it should be a regular thing. And I think we just trivialize it even more by suggesting that we could play a mass and that is therapy. Or we could take a day off and go to the beach and that is therapy. I don't think so, because it don't have the hard work involved in it now. I think that's just a plaster over an open wound. And it's more like an excuse from doing the hard work than it is the actual hard work of therapy. And to me, that is something that I feel we should change. I feel like under our Carnival order, we need to say farewell to that kind of thinking. And I think we need to normalize going and sit down with a professional to work through serious damage and baggage and thing. You know, we'll be carrying around plenty, you know. I feel we have to do that kind of work now. And I think that is something that we need to change now. There's a thinking that we need to change. I feel like under our Carnival order, we need to say farewell to that type of thinking. I think we need to normalize going and sit down by a professional and just work through serious damage and baggage and things that we'll be carrying around with us for years. Now, I want to talk more about that, but if you realize I'm heading towards saying we should check out therapy a little more, right? But before that, I have a burning question. The cost of therapy is something that we can pretend is not a barrier to getting therapy because it has some price to it now. And I was studying, is there a way that we could, offset some of that probably by something like insurance, right? If we could get coverage for therapy under an insurance plan. And with that, how easy it is to get insurance as like a creative entrepreneur like myself, or any entrepreneur for that matter. So I hailed my friend Estrian, who works in the industry, to see if she could help me out, and answer some of them questions. And this is what she say.
Hey Quincy, the plan that I do have with my employer, they do offer therapy sessions or visits to psychiatrists, and they also have a psychologist benefit. However, certain doctors are considered specialists, so you may need a referral in order to have your visits with the psychologist. If you have a psychologist is considered a specialist, so you may need a referral if you believe you have a mental illness and to get that in order to visit with the therapist. Health insurance is very expensive generally, especially if you want a good plan. It's generally an expensive plan because the coverage itself is expensive and the risk is high, right? People are more likely to seek benefits from a health insurance plan than, a life insurance plan. So you're more likely to need health insurance throughout the duration of your life, regardless of if you are healthy or unhealthy. You are still likely to utilize the coverage, whereas you're only going to die in life once. So health insurance is therefore very expensive. And the best way to attain health insurance coverage would be through some sort of group. So that if it is you are employed and your employer has a group health plan, it is more beneficial and it is more affordable to be under a group plan, because that is the whole basis of how insurance works. It works from a pool. But if you seek individual health insurance coverage, like just you alone, it's going to cost you a good amount of money monthly as the premium to upkeep it, which is why most people just prefer to say, well, I cross my fingers, I hope nothing major happens in my life where I require hundreds of thousands of dollars to recover my health. So I cross my fingers and I will pay to go to the doctor as necessary, or I will visit a public hospital, because the premiums for health insurance is high as an individual. So my recommendation would be to join like places that give you the opportunity to get health insurance under a group plan, even if you are, let's say you're an entrepreneur and you're a member of a credit union. Credit unions offer group health insurance coverage under their membership. A lot of them do for their members as opposed to just employees. So if it is someone is in the creative industry and they are a member of a credit union, they could acquire health insurance coverage that way because individual health insurance is not cheap.
And is that, so now we know. So watch a day, I on the books. I scrolling through Bunks Up Nigel Reid account. In the usual bacchanal mode, if you know the person, real bacchanal is going on that page. And he had this clip of Trinidad Killer talking to Umi Makano. Umi Makano tripping out then. And rightfully so too, because he was saying that the talk about Marshall slapping him, that rumor that was going on a while now, that is old talk. Now, the first thing that run through my mind is that, that's a real scene to have a lie like that running about you, like, for this long. That's a real scene. Plus, he mentioned some other things, like, he wasn't fired from the band. He claimed that he resigned, and he expressed to Killer that the industry is shit now. And he was real grimy, he was real greasy. I hear Andy discussing the voice, and I saying, you know what, that sounding too familiar, I know that position all too well, That is that creative industry hurt. Like, I immediately resonated with it. And while people is, talking about if they feel it true or if it's not true and whatever, all I see is how rough it is to try and make something of yourself in this local creative industry. It's hard, And it's a huge burden. And it triggered me. Now, I am no mental health professional, Far from it, as a matter of fact. So it's not my place to really evaluate the man or nothing like that. But I could be real about how it made me feel, though. And I feel a similar way, I feel a similar way from working in the creative industry. And, you kind of giving your all to something that you love and you're being passionate and thing about it. But then again, back very little. It's real unfulfilling, in plenty cases, and unrewarding. And despite that, and despite, getting unfair treatment and all them kind of garbage, you just kind of still make your way, And a lot of creatives just feel like that. Feel, unappreciated, undervalued and that kind of thing. It's feel like that dealing with the industry. Now, I'm talking as a creative professional, creative entrepreneur, but this could be for any professional or any entrepreneur, to be honest with you, I'm sure. Because the motivation factor is still the same, mastery, autonomy and purpose. But I'm also talking as a man, of African descent, straight out and move and no crossover, except for wrong by the walkover. So I'm familiar that a lot of people outside of the industry, just feel this way as well. And I didn't grow up with therapy as part of my existence. That is just not what we just do. But I see the importance of it, especially if you want to break generational issues and things. So last year I went and checked out some therapists, because of that same kind of load. And it was a great discovery. Actually, I think it was my second best discovery, right after finding out about Stu Oxtail bus up shut by Roti Cafe. My tipping point was, I read a book called Heady Days. And, Heady Days, the memoirs of a 70s art man by Patrick Johnstone. It was a very accurate account of what advertising was like from the 70s up to the present times, right? The thing is, the experience that is described in that book is now one that I think somebody outside of the subset of agency owners will normally experience at an agency. The contrast was real dread, I can't sum up how dread that contrast was to me. And, without going into much detail, using some of the lenses that I have now, it kind of highlighted that, things that I didn't realize was burdening me since my first job in advertising was really on my back still. Things I never really considered kept on adding to the baggage over the years. And I started to see how them things, not that there's just there, but there's there and affecting me actively, affecting my work. Because believe me, that bitterness just seep into your work, but it's affecting my everyday life too, relationships and things, how I manage my things, how I manage my time, just everything flavored with this Angostura level bitters then. And the scary part is, going through it and doing it actively. And I didn't even know how cloudy my judgment was whilst I going through this thing. It's only from sitting down and doing that work, guided by professionals who train to help me ask the tough questions. The questions that I don't even know I had to ask myself, that made me realize you're in a storm, and far deep into the storm, Dread. I needed that help to come out of it. So this is why this year, I kind of decided to Carnival different. I decided to Carnival different. I looking to tap into that Carnival energy of change, and see if I could change some things about my situation. Serious upgrades now. Like if I get a job to go and cover a fete or something, cool, I would do it. But right now, I ain't really focused on that symbolic change part now. I ain't focused on being in the fete or being on the road right now. At least not with all this heavy load on my back. I try to make that real change now. But before I wrap it up, let me paint this right here. Because I sure you realize that I done leaning towards saying, and you should try it out too now. Yeah. So let me put a little shine on where you could start if you think you want to give therapy a little try. Right? You can check out psychologytt.org, which is the Trinidad and Tobago Association of Psychologists. I used that once before, and it was good. Actually, I was looking for somebody, I guess, to go on our show that we was doing, but Dawi and myself. And we got a lot of qualified people. I was pretty impressed. So you could probably start there. Also, the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services offers counseling at their offices. And their offices in Couva, Chaguanas, Tunapuna, Sawa, Arima, Princestown, Rio Claro, San Fernando, Pinal, and Point Fortin. I'm not going to write down all that. Come back to the podcast if you want to remember it and give me some more views now. But yeah, you can check out them things, right? Alright, so let me wrap it up now. In 2023, I feel we shouldn't be still thinking about therapy as just for crazy people or thinking that we don't need it, we could just deal with things for ourselves, because we can't, Your brain is as much a part of your body as your heart or your lungs or your limbs, your eyes, and you need your brain to be functioning properly, just like you need your legs to be functioning properly. Therapy is the medication that could help that. So I really hope that you take this on and look into it, explore it. I could tell you it's hard work. It's answering a lot of tough, some real difficult questions and confronting some real uncomfortable truths. But on the other side of that, it's real peace and joy then. And whether I know you, I don't know you, I know you in passing, I know you personally, we close, we're not, I would have for you. Straight up, I would have for you. Simply because the more of us as individuals that feeling good about ourselves is the better the whole, the collective feel good about ourselves. And that's it. Thanks for listening and being part of my birthday celebrations then. If you want, you could complete the scene by shouting out in the comments there, Hear out now. Boom. And until next time, do what you want, just make sure and do it real. Right? Bow.